Hey everybody, welcome. This is going to be a very exciting lesson about how to make sure that you feel more powerful in your life. So if you've been feeling disempowered or feeling reactive or feeling almost like a victim to different circumstances, this is going to be very, very helpful to you. So my name is Hicks, founder of mentalhealthcoaching.com and the SSS conditioning method, where we help people reduce anxiety or depression, typically by 75% in 90 days on average. And I make these little lessons for you guys because I used to be suicidal and have been depression-free for a long time, and I want you to have the same lifestyle. I want you to be able to have great mental health, and you can do it. You just got to learn how to make it happen, because no one's going to do it for you, but you can learn how to make it happen. So I wanted to go kind of on a little miniature rant, I guess, today, but hopefully one that's very helpful to you, because there's a little theme I've been picking up on recently that has just been staring me in the face again and again and again as I've been helping people get their mental health where they want it to be. And it's the concept of choice. And so what I have realized is that we feel anxious or depressed in direct proportion to how few choices we convince ourselves that we have. And I've noticed that people are very eager. They develop a mental habit of presuming that they have fewer choices than they actually have. So we sort of hypnotize ourselves getting into these stories about how, well, you know, I'd really love to go and do that, but I can't do that because my parents would never approve. Or, you know, I'd really love to do that, but I just can't do that because you know where the economy is at right now. Or, I know I really should make that happen, but I just really don't feel motivated to get it done. And if you find yourself consistently justifying why you are in pain, you need to really pay attention and listen. Well, you don't need to do anything. Let me back up. I would invite you to be open-minded right now, because I've found this to be particularly helpful for me. I'm not telling you what you have to do, but I want to help you if you're open to being helped, and I think this would be helpful to you. If you find that your mind consistently feels a state of disempowerment, a state of stuckness, a state of can't, like I can't do this, I can't do that, what I invite you to do is to recognize that you actually have many more choices available to you than you have made yourself convinced that you do. And recall that I've said this in previous lessons, the mind will believe anything you tell it on a repetitive basis, anything. So when you tell yourself, I can't do this, I can't do it, I can't do it, I can't do it, that's what you feel is true. When you tell yourself, this is just so hard, that's what it's gonna be. Right? So what you've got to start to do if you really want to feel more empowered is embrace a different narrative, a different story. And the singular sentence that I have prescribed for my clients over the years that has worked wonders in direct proportion to how much they actually train themselves to use it is I can and I will. Or if that seems a little too much for you, you could even say I can and I will even if it's challenging. I can and I will even if it's challenging. And to get rid of the word can't, because there are always choices that you can make. That's really what makes the difference in people's quality of life, is their choices. Right? Think about it. Haven't you seen people who have come from very privileged backgrounds? They were born with almost every conceivable resource, and they squandered it, and now their life is a mess. Right? If you retrace their steps, it's because they made bad choices. They made bad decisions about how to respond to what happened to them in life. Yes, every human being is going to have negative, bad things happen to them. Some human beings are going to have much worse things happen to them than other human beings, of course. Right? So I'm not saying that all human beings have the same choices. I'm not saying all human beings have all choices. What I'm saying is that all human beings have more choices available to them than they mentally convince themselves that they have. And that is what makes the difference. Because when you presume that you don't have a choice, when it's not in your power, then you're going to feel less powerful. And the less powerful you feel, the worse your life is going to get. The more dangerous your mental health will go into the negative. So there's a couple, I'm going to give you guys some specifics because I have a whole list of the types of choices that you can start to make that will empower you. I'm going to get to that in a moment. But first, let me explain kind of a metaphor to explain this concept a little bit. If you've ever been to like Las Vegas or a casino and you go into the area where they got the slot machines, you know, you'll see these people with like the buckets of quarters. And Maybe you've done this before yourself, where you go and you get the coins or quarters and you go throughout. So here's kind of the way that I like to think about it. You come into life, right? Let's say adulthood, right? Because I guess, you know, if you're a child, depending on what culture and where you're located in the world, there are different ages where you're somewhat forced to do certain things, right? But let's say certainly by adulthood, right? You've now got your tokens of power, if you will, right? You are like handed a bucket of tokens, right? In America, I would say this is certainly by the time you are age 18. By the time you're age 18, you don't have to listen to what your parents tell you to do. Most people do, right? A lot of people live their life trying to still get their parents' approval. They'll either stay at home if they think that's what their parents want, or they'll get kicked out if they think that that's what their parent needs them to do, or whatever, right? But at the age of 18, you fundamentally have the majority of your choices available to you. Like I said, not every person is going to have the same choices, right? I think there is still a pretty viable argument to be made that depending on your gender, your sexual orientation, your race, right, there are certainly going to be some choices that may be available to you but more difficult to enact. They may require more effort, more willpower, more flexibility, or there may just flat out be some choices that are just not available to you because of those particular factors, and that can certainly be unfair. But at this particular time in history in America, if you're the age 18, you're going to still have a very good set of choices that you can make. And I might as well just give you the list of choices here, and I'll return to the metaphor in a second. You can first of all choose what you focus on. That's the first most important choice for your mental health. You can focus on the past and the pain of the past. You can focus on things that are outside of your control that stress you out. You can focus on everything that you dislike in your life. You can focus on all the problems you can have. You can focus on every single thing that has been done to you that you felt was unfair. Or you can focus on goals. You can focus on solutions. You can focus on action items that are within your control to make your life the way that you want it. You can focus on people who love you. You can focus on things that you're grateful for. You can focus on opportunities that you have right now that you can leverage to make your life better. You can focus on what you do have, okay? You can focus on what you are looking forward to in the future. And different people develop different habits of choice. And so those dramatically impact where people are headed in their life. Okay, there is a particular family member who will go unnamed and unclassified in my extended family. And what's interesting is that they have siblings who grew up in essentially the same environment, same circumstances, same lack of privilege, really. They grew up in a pretty challenged environment. But two of those siblings have gone on to do very, very great things with their life and live very good lives, mental health-wise. The other one has arguably been given much more than the other two, but has essentially squandered it and is living a horrible life right now. Right? They're deeply depressed, anxious, upset, and have other problems. And when we retrace the steps of what happened, it's pretty clear. It was a series of choices. One of the big choices was those three siblings, the two that did good and the one who is not doing good, they have made very dramatic choices about what to focus on. The one who's dealing with problems continuously focuses on all of the pain of the past. The other two have consistently focused on how grateful they are that they're no longer in the pain of the past, which was their childhood. And they also focus on a compelling vision of the future of how they want it to go. And they focus on what is in their control to make their life how they want it now. Okay, so that's a first big important thing. The second choice that is available to any of us is what we choose to ask ourselves. So if you ask yourself a negative question, you're going to get negative answers. Like, what's wrong with me? Will I ever be good enough? Why can't I do this? All right? If you ask yourself a different quality question like, all right, this is really frustrating right now, but what can I learn from this? How can I use this to my advantage? What will I eventually be grateful for because I'm going through this right now? How can I use this to serve a higher purpose? How can I get it to be the way that I want it? What is in my control? Right? Different questions, different answers, different emotional state, different actions, different life. Third big choice that you have available to you at any given moment of any time, which by the way, that's what these are. These are choices you can enact right here, right now, in your life today. What you focus on is the first one. What you ask yourself is number 2. Number 3, what you delete. Okay, and what I mean by that is what you decide you are no longer to give energy to. So sometimes it's not about deciding to do something, it is deciding to no longer do something. To say, you know what, that doesn't serve me, that doesn't help me, I'm done with that. So in this particular example, it would be deciding what you are no longer going to give energy to, particularly, let's say, like from the past. And that's another big difference between these 2 individuals in my family who did really well and are living great lives, and the other person. The one person who does really negatively and feels negative all the time gives energy to the wrong stuff, constantly focusing on the past and what they hate and what they dislike and how bad things are. And so it spirals downward and downward and downward, right? The other 2 decided, no, I'm not going to focus on that. I'm going to focus on this instead. So that is a very powerful thing. You always have the choice to do, is cut off energy, right? Because problems need energy to grow. 4, you always get to choose what you tell yourself. We get to choose that, right? Your mind may have habits of telling yourself negative shit, but you can consciously in this moment say, you know what, I'm not telling myself that anymore. I'm going to start telling myself this instead. And you focus on that, right? Very different. All right. Another one is what you choose to believe. So maybe it is true that you had a parent that imbued with you a idea that you are good or are not good enough, or that there is a problem, or that there's a flaw, or something like that. That would be not nice and kind of unfair, right? Not cool that they did that. But it doesn't mean you have to continue to believe it. Think about that, right? We very often, I hear people say this all the time, like, oh yeah, you know, I just developed this insecurity complex from my mother. She really beat that into me. It's like, well, look, the only way other people's opinions and beliefs can impact us is if we believe them, right? Like if I came to you and I said, you have the ugliest, stupid purple eyes I have ever seen, chances are you're probably not going to feel offended. Why? Because you do not believe what I'm telling you. Okay? So even if I come to you with anger and maliciousness and I say, you've got stupid purple eyes, you're going to go, what the hell are you talking about? That doesn't affect me, right? So the only reason your parents' opinion of you or your spouse's opinion of you could impact your opinion of you is if you believe the shit. You actually let it in. So you get to decide and say, no, I don't believe that. I'm rejecting that. Okay, that's a choice you have. Okay, number 6. Number 6 is you get to choose what actions you take. I remember one client I had years ago, she wanted to lose weight. She had struggled losing weight. And this because she didn't really, she had totally foregone this idea of her choice. She talked about, oh, I know I've been overeating since I was a kid, and I developed bad eating habits when I was a kid, and my parents were overweight, and all this stuff. It's like, okay, yeah, but when you give your power away to those other circumstances, that's where I was going with that story, by the way, of the tokens. Like, think of those tokens being your power. So you go into the casino of life with like 100 tokens, and you can give those tokens to other people. You can give those tokens to the past. You can give those tokens to outside circumstances. You can give those tokens to the government and say, well, I can't be happy or satisfied until the government does X, Y, Z. I can't be happy or satisfied until my father apologizes. It's like, okay, great. Well, you're giving that power away until your bucket is empty. That's why you feel so disempowered and reactive all the time to whatever everybody else does. Imagine if you gave those 100 tokens to a bunch of strangers, and those are the only 100 tokens you have, and you're hoping that they do really good things. Wouldn't you be very neurotic and stressed out? You'd be trying to like look and check and what is everybody doing with those tokens, right? That's what a lot of people do, is they leave their sense of empowerment and fulfillment up to other people. And that's a big, 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 big problem. So anyway, this woman who was dealing with weight issues, I said, look, you're not, because she was in her 40s. I'm like, look, you're no longer overweight because of your parents. Can we agree with that? You're overweight because you're making certain actions. You're taking certain actions in your daily life. She's like, yeah, that's true. I said, great. What is the singular action you are doing on a regular basis that's keeping you overweight? The biggest one. And she's like, yeah, I eat. It was literally, she eats too many Oreos. She's like, yeah, I'll eat like 7, 8 Oreos a night. I'm like, cool. would you agree that getting your weight back to where you want it to be would feel so much better than those Oreos taste? Right? And she said, oh, absolutely. I said, great. Would you agree that the single most important thing we could do to get there is get rid of the Oreos and replace it with something healthy? She said, yes. I said, great. Go to your pantry right now, take the Oreos out, and I want you to empty them into the garbage. And she was like, what, right now? I said, yes, right now. You got to decide and commit and make it a real choice so that way you don't back out. And so she went and did it, and we replaced it with strawberries for her, and she lost a ton of weight because she finally took some of her power back. She took the tokens back that she had given to her past and her parents and said, no, no, thank you. I'm going to use these now. And so she made that choice. She made that decision, and it changed her whole life, right? Because decisions equal destiny. Okay, the next one, I think this is number 7. You get to choose what you value. Okay, this is a huge, huge thing. We all go through periods of our life where we change what we value. A common example is when people become parents. They typically go from previously valuing things like adventure and fun and variety to then valuing things like security and safety and family and things like that. Well, choosing what you value essentially means you're choosing what you prioritize, what you spend your time on, what you spend your energy on. So you can always change what you value. If you've been chasing after other people's approval your whole life, it doesn't mean that you are inherently a people pleaser in terms of your identity. It just means that you have a habit of trying to people please. And so what you can do is decide, you know what, I'm not going to value chasing other people's approval anymore. And it does require a little bit of willpower and a little bit of, you do need to work at this. I'm not saying all these decisions are like one and done, like you snap your fingers and now they're over. But I am saying that you have the ability to make the decisions and enact the decisions and utilize your willpower to stick to them so that they become habitual. Okay. Number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Number 8, I think. Yes, 8. You can change what you choose to expect. So very often people will make themselves miserable because they put expectations on themselves or other people that are just unrealistic, right? And so you'll always feel dissatisfaction in direct proportion to how many of your expectations are not being met. So one of the fastest ways you can create more peace of mind is to get rid of unreasonable, ridiculous expectations. Okay, and then finally, number 9, you can choose to change how you get your needs met. So I'm not going to go into a whole spiel on this because that's a subject for a different lesson, but there are 6 key things that drive all human behavior, and we get addicted to certain things, certain ways of getting our needs met. So a client I just had a conversation with recently, she, starting early on in her age, like 9 or 10, she got really physically sick. And so she got all of this like love and acceptance and comfort from her parents when she got really sick. And so then all of a sudden, a couple years later, she started developing really incredibly strong anxiety that then her parents stopped everything and pulled her out of school and all of this stuff. And then now she's getting sick again as an adult, but the doctors had told her, look, this is totally in your head. This is anxiety psychosomatic. And so what we realized is getting sick was literally a way for her to get her needs met at a subconscious level. And so we had to find a new way for her to get her needs met, and that meant focusing on things that would actually be empowering to her, like a vision for building a business, a vision for having the family life that she wanted, a way to contribute to other people instead of revolving her whole life and all of her energy around being sick, because that's what had happened. She was spending like 60 hours a week constantly focused on, what do I got to do and what doctor do I got to talk to, and who, oh geez, they told me this, and maybe I need to go see a naturopath, and maybe I should try acupuncture, and giving all of this energy to this other thing. So we can get addicted to our problems. So you can find new ways to get your needs met. If you have currently been getting your needs met staying inside your comfort zone, you need to find a way to get your needs met outside of your comfort zone, for example. Okay, that's kind of the idea. So you always have choices. Don't be too quick to convince yourself of what choices you don't have. The greatest limiting factor you could ever put on yourself is a story of limitation. Don't ever tell yourself or somebody else what you can't do, because your mind will believe whatever you tell yourself. Tell yourself what you can do, that you can and you will do it even if it's challenging, right? And that will get you going in the right direction. So, sorry to have a little bit of tough love, but I'm not sorry, because sometimes we need a splash of cold water on our face to wake up, you know, and do what we need to do. So I hope this has been helpful to you. I really want you to have the life that you want, that you deserve. I want you to have the mental health that you deserve, but no one's going to give it to you. You have to seize it. You have to take actions. You got to take decisions. You got to take the power in your hands to make this happen. Okay. So please, please, please start making new choices. If you're looking for a little way to enact this, here's what I'd recommend you do immediately. Do it before you even finish this video. What is the singular decision from this list that you could use your willpower to exercise and decide and draw a line in the sand and say, look, I'm doing this damn thing. Like, all right, look, I've been focusing way too much on this thing from the past. It always makes me feel miserable. It's made me feel miserable in the past. It makes me feel miserable now. It'll keep making me feel miserable unless I just decide I'm not going to focus on this damn thing. Maybe it's that. Maybe it's you need to go to your pantry and dump something out. Maybe it's that you need to finally go apologize to somebody that you've been holding a grudge against. Maybe you need to go apply for that job, actually. Maybe you need to decide, okay, you know what? I'm putting a spending limit on my debit card. I'm not going to continue to do this anymore because it's not helping me. Okay, but make a decision. Decisions equal destiny. You are headed in a particular direction in your life because of the decisions you are making. If you make new decisions, you will head in a new direction. Okay? Awesome. So let us know in the comments what your new decision is going to be. Commit to this. Get some social validation, like commit to the internet here. Right? What is it that you're going to do? Let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear it. But I'll be excited to serve you guys in the next lesson. Take care for now. Bye.